In our Machzor we read, Rabbi Lazer survived the death camps and returned to his hometown, Kętrzyn, in Poland. For years following the Shoah, he roamed the streets playing a hand organ. At regular intervals, amid the numerous tunes he played, he would intentionally play Kol Nidrei. As he did so, he would look into the eyes of the children who walked by, looking for a hint of recognition. In this way, he was able to bring many children back in contact with their people. For us too, Kol Nidrei is a moment of recognition, a sound that brings us back to our people. At this moment, when everything feels so different and unfamiliar, when our world feels like it has been turned upside down, in this time when we come together for synagogue services by switching on the computer screen or television, it is possible to focus on how strange and different everything feels, or we can focus on something else. There is a moment, a word, a prayer, and tonight a melody that transports us and takes us away from this strange reality, enveloping us in a feeling that is familiar, comforting, a feeling of home and community. Kol Nidrei, with its haunting tune, is perhaps the moment, music, and melody most associated with these high holy days. It is a tune that people recognize when Rabbi Lazer played it, and is one that we recognize today. It takes us out of our homes and transports us to the sanctuary, with the same voices leading us in prayer together. This day is different, not because of the circumstances, but because it is Yom Kippur, a day set apart from the rest of the year, the moment when we stand before God in judgment, our Shabbat Shabbaton, our Sabbath of Sabbaths, when we assume the role of angels and ascend the heights. We do that as a community that is united in prayer and song, joining together and supporting one another as we face judgment. As we begin the fast of this evening, we know that while fasting is important, so too is the value of pikuach nefesh, of saving life. And so for those who might struggle with the fast, there is a blessing to offer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al pikuach nefesh. We bless God who commands us to protect life. Our service now continues on page 2. My soul, bless Adonai. Adonai, my God, you are very great. You are clothed in beauty and splendor, wrapped in a robe of light. You unfurl the heavens like the curtain of a tent. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit. And we continue now with the candle lighting on page 9. The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us, guided by the flame of conscience. On this sacred night, we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו והקימנו והגיענו
We continue on page 15. Kol Nidrei, a chant that begins in a whisper and rises to a cry. On this night of promises remembered, each soul in solitude communes with the soul of the universe. God, from this day of atonement to the next, may we reach it in peace. All Israel makes these vows to turn from wrong, dishonesty, and greed, to walk in the path of justice and right. Yet we know our weakness, how prone we are to fail. Help us to keep our word. Help us to act with humility and integrity. We seek pardon and forgiveness. We seek your radiance and light. Please rise as you are able as we face towards the east on page 16.
Shiva shel mala uv'shiva shel mata al dat hamakom ve'al dat hakahal anu matirin lihitpalel im havoryonim.
With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly. all vows, resolves and commitments, vows of abstinence and terms of obligation, sworn promises and oaths of dedication, that we promise and swear to God and take upon ourselves, from this day of atonement until next day of atonement, may it find us well. We regret them, and for all of them we repent. Let all of them be discarded and forgiven, abolished and undone. They are not valid and they are not binding. Our vows shall not be vows, our resolves shall not be resolves, and our oaths, they shall not be oaths. V'nislach l'chol adat b'nei Yisrael, v'lager hagar b'tocham, ki l'chol ha'am bishgaga. All shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Salach na la'avon ha'am hazeh, k'godel chastecha, v'cha'asher nasata la'am hazeh, mimitzrayim va'ad hena. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now, in keeping with your boundless love. V'sham ne'emar, v'yomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha. And God responded, I forgive as you have asked. We continue now with the Baruch Hu.
Adonai hamivarach, Baruch Adonai hamivarach, leolam vaed.
If you'll please be seated, we continue now on page 26. Love beyond all space and time. Your love enfolds your people, Yisrael. We receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam lehot al yadecha ve'ayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lenohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem L'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet.
We continue with Micha Mocha on page 40.
Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai Micha Mocha Nidar Ba'Kodesh Norati Lot Osefele Malchutecha
We continue on page 43. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in this beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. On the top of page 45, Ki vayom hazeh yachaper alechem, letaher etchem mikol chatotechem, lifnei Adonai titaru. For on this day atonement shall be made for you, to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure shall you be in the presence of Adonai. We continue now with the Chatzi Kaddish.
Fit kadal shemei Rabbah Be'amad yivrach edutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon u'b'yomechon u'b'chayed kol beit Yisrael Bagala u'b'ziman kariv v'yimeru Amen Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaiha yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalol shemei dekudsha richu leila uleila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nachemata damirun b'alma v'yimeru Amen.
We turn now to page 46 for the Amidah. Have mercy upon me, O God, as befits your faithfulness, in keeping with your abundant compassion. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly of my iniquity and purify me of my sins, for I recognize my transgressions and am ever conscious of my sin. Please rise as you are able.
Magen Avraham Vezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechayim iti Ata Rav Lehoshia. V'nemanata lehachayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hametim.
We continue with a moment of silence. We turn now to page 82 for our vidui. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, tavo lefanecha tefilatenu. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. When I was young, I learned the alphabet. Life was open to me. A was full of aspiration. B was for beauty. C for confidence. And D for dreams. And so on through the list, no fewer than 26 opportunities, 26 possibilities. And yet I fear that with the passage of time, I've squandered them, creating instead A's of apathy, B's of brusqueness, and C's of coarseness. Help me then to return to that innocence. Let the letters be letters once again, and let them rise to the heavens and form into the words that you know I wish to say. Our alphabet of Ashamnu is at the bottom of page 82.
Ay, 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 Ashamnu Bagadnu Gazal דיברנו דופי, האבינו, והרשנו, זדנו, חמסנו, טפלנו שקר, יעצנו רע, כיזבנו, לצנו, מרדנו, ניאצנו, שררנו, אבינו, פשענו, צררנו, כישינו עורף, רשענו, שיחטנו, תיעבנו, טעינו, תיתנו, איי 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 איי
Page 84. Sarnu mitzvotecha mishpatecha hatovim velo shavalanu. Our turning away from your mitzvot and laws of goodness is a hollow pursuit. You are just concerning all that happens in our lives. Your way is the way of truth, while ours leads to error. What can we say to you whose existence is beyond time and space? What words of ours can reach your realm beyond the clouds, beyond heaven itself? Every hidden mystery, every revelation, surely you know them all. Ata yodea rezei olam, v'talumot sitrei kol chai. You know the secrets of the universe and the secrets of the human heart. You know and understand us, for you examine our inner lives. Nothing is concealed from you, nothing hidden from your sight. Eternal One, our God and God of our ancestors, we pray that this be your will. Forgive all our wrongs. Pardon us for every act of injustice. Help us atone for all our moral failures. We turn to our Al Chet, our long confession. Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha bezadon ubishkaga, v'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'dibor peh. Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'yimutz halev, v'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tishut peh. Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chachash u'v'chasav, v'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'rechilut. Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'flilut, v'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'zilzul horim u'morim. Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'vidui peh, v'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'hona'at re'ah. Al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chozak yad, v'al Chet shechatanu lefanecha b'ma'as u'mamatan, b'masa u'mamatan. V'al kulam elo aslichot, slach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu.
Ve'al kulam elo aslichot,
continue on page 88. The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. The ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו.
We continue on page 113. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Some of us have cancer. Some have lost strength of body. Some have lost memory and speech. Some of us are in pain. Some can't find work. Some of us bear the marks of human cruelty inside where the scars don't show. Some live with depression. Some battle addiction. Many feel alone. Some have known shattered marriages, trust betrayed, hopes destroyed. Some of us have lost the ones we love far too soon. And some have lost a child. All of us have seen suffering in our midst. All of us know the ravages of war for which there are no words. Avinu Malkeinu, why? Avinu Malkeinu, are you there? Do you care? Avinu Malkeinu, hear our pain, hear our anger, hear our grief. Avinu Malkeinu, here is our prayer. Give us the strength to go on. Give us reasons to get up each day. Give us purpose and persistence. Help us to fend off fear and to hold on to hope. Help us to be kind. Don't make us bow or grovel for your favor. Give us dignity and give us courage. Avinu Malkeinu, show us the way to a year of goodness. Renew our belief that the world can be better. Restore our faith in life. Restore our faith in you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chol Aleinu.
When our children were toddlers, they each took a different approach to expressing their anger. One of them, when upset, would fly into a raging temper. He would go from calm to kicking and screaming in an instant, stomping, hitting, throwing things. It was a little scary to parent him when he was like that. But the upshot was that the anger, when it had finished coursing through him, he was done. Either he got his way or he didn't, but it was out of him, and we could all go on with our day. Our other son, when upset, took a different approach. He would look at you a minute, square in the eye, and then he would slowly lower himself to his knees. And then, so unhurriedly, he would get down on his belly, pause for a moment, and only then would he begin to pound his arms and kick his legs and moan. He could keep going on with that for a long, long time, letting us know that we were his oppressors. Both kinds of expressions of anger served important purposes for our kids, but ones that were really quite different. The first child used his anger expression immediate and eruptive. It burst out of him with violence that vented out all of his rage into the world at once. As parents, we were not going to give in to that kind of outburst, so it didn't necessarily change anything in the moment. But as his parents, we taught ourselves pretty quickly to try to avoid those things that would make him angry in the first place. So in the end, he did affect change. The anger expression from our other son was much less violent, but it was extremely effective in changing the situation at hand. That toddler's deliberate, slow-moving anger was a marathon, not a sprint. It was not loud, and nothing got broken, but I'll tell you, when it came to our attempts at sleep training him, he outlasted us by far. He won. He trained us to help look for a compromise offer early in his anger so that everyone could save face, because otherwise our whole afternoon was lost. My children's expression of anger and how they have used their fury to affect change in us as their parents and oppressors has been incredibly instructive to me. Obviously, I hope that they will continue over time to learn more and more how to neither attack the people they love nor use their anger to get things that aren't actually good for them. But I have learned much from their anger because I am somebody who does not like to get angry and really does not like to express it when I do. I mean, I do get angry and I do express it. But for most of my life so far, I have thought of expressing anger as primarily corrosive, not as a force for either venting the hot steam that has built up inside, as my one son did, nor for forcefully and deliberately impacting the forces around me as the other did. My children are teaching me, and so is the current state of the world, because right now I am outraged, and I am realizing that outraged is the right way to be. There is a huge amount to be angry about right now. I think that most of us have our own lists. When I sat down to write this as a first draft, my fury came pouring out of me onto my paper like my tantruming son pouring out steam. But for this Yom Kippur, I'd like to take my second son's approach and name more deliberately and slowly a more careful sampling of the things I am furious about from my point of view as a rabbi and as a Jew. I am outraged that as a country, we are failing to understand that every person is made b'tselem Elohim, uniquely in the image of God, and that, as the Talmud says, to destroy one life is to destroy an entire world. I am outraged that we are failing to heed the admonition that God gave to Cain when God said, "Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." I am outraged that we are not heeding the words of our great sage, the physician Maimonides, when he said, "Truth does not become more true by virtue of the fact that the entire world agrees with it, nor less so even if the whole world disagrees with it," and that we are not respecting the expertise of learned scholars who have devoted their careers to research of medicine and ethics alike. I am outraged that we continue to fail to act on our understanding that, as one midrash says, God formed the first human out of dust from all over the world, yellow clay, white sand, black loam, and red soil, so that no one can declare to any race or color of person that they do not belong here or that this is not their home. I am outraged that we are failing to live up to our obligations as Shomrei Adamah, guardians and tenders of our earth, and that we are failing to plant seeds for the world and its climate that our children will be able to harvest. I am outraged that we are utterly failing as a nation to welcome the stranger in our midst. We know that all of us were once strangers here, and that as Jews, we are commanded to treat the stranger like one of our own, along with the widow, the orphan, and the Levite, all those who do not have the resources or access to power in our society to provide for themselves. That we are, in fact, treating those who come to us for shelter as Midrash imagines the people of Sodom did, punishing those who ask for bread and those who feed them, maiming those who lie in our beds. I am outraged that we are treating the bounty we have received as something we created ourselves, rather than acknowledging the gifts we have been given by those who came before us, and that in the end, all of this, the heavens and the earth, the world and all that fills it, have only been lent to us, and that it is on us to express our gratitude for what we have been given and to make sure it is used for justice. I am outraged that we are failing to honor the understanding of the very first chapter of Torah that says that male and female were created as one, and that we seem unable to honor what the rabbis of the Talmud understood 2 millennia ago when they wrote about there being a range of genders, and we know now sexualities as well. I am outraged that we do not seem to understand what Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak was taught in the Talmud, that one who humiliates another in public, it is as though he were spilling blood. And what the sages were saying when they said that a person's tongue is more powerful than one's sword. A sword can kill anybody who is nearby, while a tongue can cause the death of someone who is far away. I am outraged that we are not doing enough to walk the path that Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel laid out for us when he told us that, morally speaking, there is no limit to the concern one must feel for the suffering of human beings, and that, in regard to cruelties committed in the name of a free society, some are guilty, but all are responsible. So what, as a Jew, do I do with my outrage? Our tradition is clear that we are called on to act when injustice is threatened or done. We are not supposed to run away from our responsibilities like the prophet Jonah did at first. We are not supposed to think that someone else will take care of it, like Queen Esther did before she accepted her sacred role. We are not supposed to succumb to despair, because that would be to deny our tikvah, our hope, as Rabbi Blumberg taught us on Rosh Hashanah. Above all, we are not supposed to remain indifferent, for as Elie Wiesel taught us, indifference is the opposite of love, it is the opposite of faith, it is the opposite of life itself, because in indifference, one dies before one actually dies. Instead, this day of Yom Kippur teaches us that we must acknowledge our culpability, not that we should be cut down under the weight of our transgressions, but rather that we should name those things that we have done wrongly as individuals and as a society, so that we can begin the vital and continual work of teshuvah, returning our steps action by action to the right path, and to do everything in our power to repair, restore, reconcile, and recompense for the wrongs that we have done. Yom Kippur teaches us to bring our transgressions here to our sacred space together, whether we sit physically in the same room or are across the country or the globe, so that we can bear our guilt together with others and to share in the responsibility for changing our fate and changing ourselves. Our tradition says that it is our job to speak truth to power and to overthrow corruption using whatever tools are within our grasp. Abraham used his words and logic to argue with God when God seemed bent toward injustice. Moses used reason, magic, and punishment to speak truth to Pharaoh when he was intent on causing harm. Esther used the power of artfulness and persuasion. Tamar used trickery to expose a grievous wrong. Deborah used her position of authority. The prophet Nathan used storytelling. Ezra used books. David used music. The rabbis used interpretation. The conversos used hiddenness. Those in the Warsaw Ghetto used uprising. Heschel used his feet to march as a form of prayer. Through vote and petition, postcards and Facebook posts, donating and marching, yard signs and pulpits, climbing steps and breaking ceilings, teaching our children, modeling our behavior, using our words, our hands, and our feet, we turn our moral outrage into moral courage, and we act. Rabbi Shai Held has taught us the greatest heresy in Judaism is to believe that the world is as the world must be. Instead, ashamnu, it is our sin if we do not work to change this world. And what about when we've done all we can do, at least for this day? The artist cannot be continually wielding her brush. The soil cannot keep bearing fruit without time to rest, and neither can we. In the story of creation, even God needs a break. So we take our Sabbaths and our sabbatical years. We pause not only so that we can renew, but also so that we can study and learn, step back, and take joy in this remarkable and glorious creation we have been given. For as the Talmud says, even God takes time to play with the largest of pets in the world, the Leviathan. And we remember when we go back to work again that it is not ours to complete the task, but neither are we free to desist from it. Instead, our anger and outrage are ours to use. When we vent steam when we need to, and tantrum when we must, and then we look our oppressors square in the eye, and we look at ourselves in the mirror, and we use our anger to make things right. Gamar Chatima Tova. May we all be sealed for good blessings in this new year. We rise as we are able for Aleinu on page 116.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא לתקן עולם במלכות שדי ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
On this night, as the gates of heaven stand open, we recite together the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 122. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divarach yeruteh v'yamlech malchuteh, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. These last 6 months have been lonely for some of us, especially in a year when there has been so much loss. Sometimes, though, this pandemic time has held in it unexpected gifts. At times, the gifts and the reasons for grief have gone hand in hand. I hope that this Yom Kippur can be one of those unexpected gifts for us all. It is not the holy day as we have previously known it, but its messages are the same as in every year. There is meaning. There is hope. We are human. Humans are mortal. Humans make mistakes. Whether we are together or apart, we share in that experience. There have been many times when we've each missed the mark, but we can learn. We can ask forgiveness. We can try again. The errors of one of us affect us all. The errors of any of us are the responsibility of us all. We are connected. Tonight we are like malachim, messengers of holiness, angels. We are in this together. This Yom Kippur is a time to reflect. Fast if it is safe for your body to do so. Fasting is a way to remind us of what our human bodies are made of. Get out of your home if it is safe for you to do so. Being out in the world is a way to remind us of the world we are part of. Explore the Machzor, that prayer book in front of you. Pray from it, argue with it. Find something you love in it or something that startles you. It is written to be a jumping off point for exploration of self and of what is holy. Join us tomorrow for prayer, learning, and meditation. In whatever parts of the day will bring meaning and connection to you, join us. Come, let us walk this Yom Kippur path together. The gates are open before us. Let us go there. Have a day of amazement. Tzom Kal. We join in the words of Adon Olam on page 126.